Okay, this is an exciting moment. Hopefully this thing will run after all these years, anticipating this moment. Hit it! Woo! I hope you can see the plates, the brass plates that they've installed on the crankshaft in order to add weight to get the counter to the rod and piston weight to try to balance the engine out. The rod and piston assemblies would have been really heavy back in the day. And you can see that the crank pin is now a small journal, and of course it was 2 1/4 inches originally when I got the crankshaft, and it was set up for a Pontiac connecting rod and a really heavy piston assembly. So I'm getting ready to put the piston connecting rod assemblies in, but right now you can see that the crankshaft is bedded down and the engine is getting ready to be in the assembly mode. Anyway, yeah, these are all one-off components, and this camshaft is no exception. You wouldn't want to damage this thing, or I'm going to run really low pressure valve springs, about 135 on the seat and about 3 1/4 over the nose. And of course this cam has less than 500 lift. Back in the day they didn't have the components that we have nowadays for your 1-inch lift cams and 1,000-pound over the nose valve springs. Chosen some old school Smog Heads 487 castings in order to bring the compression ratio down to about 9.5 to 1. These had 76 cc combustion chambers. I unshrouded the intake and exhaust valve. Otherwise there's not much good in running a larger than stock valve unless you unshroud them and do some port work on them. Done a little bit of port work on the exhaust, raised the exhaust port about 80,000, blended the bowl in, a little work around the guide, short term, matched the intake ports, and that's about the extent of it, because this isn't going to be a high RPM engine. We're just trying to make the thing breathe a little better on account of it having 391 cubic inches. It's an exciting moment in the development of the flat-fire V8 engine. First 2 rod and piston assemblies on. Motor turns over nice and smooth. A little tricky getting them in past those balancing brass plates, but if you got the rod pin in the right relationship to, luckily there's no rod bolts through. It's these Eagle rods don't use a through bolt, and that makes it a lot easier for the assembly. Anyway, it's all good. Coming together. It's going to be an internal combustion engine very soon. One thing you will never see in a normal 90-degree V8 engine, as Randy gets ready to degree the cam in, is the pistons on this bank. All 4 of them were all exactly the same amount up and down, level with each other right there. Is that crazy? I mean, you look at it and you almost think, what? Anyway, this is exciting stuff. Once we degree this cam in, we can start bolting heads on. And okay, you can see that the 2 end cylinders are both at top dead center and the 2 center cylinders are down. It's just laughable how weird this engine is. But so far on the intake, it's only got 219 degrees duration at 50 thousandths. That's what a small cam in the late 50s, early 60s would have suited a race motor with a roller cam. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's hard to wrap your brain around. and the exhaust is only just a few degrees more, so it's just this baby is going to idle with 20 inches of vacuum. Flat crank engine sitting there, all 4 pistons in this bank, exactly the same distance down in the bore. I mean, it's just hard to wrap your brain around. It's so weird looking. But having said that, the short block's ready to go, and the thing is going to be getting some cylinder heads as soon as my head gaskets come in, and I'm going to pop the heads on this thing, and we're going to start getting excited about the final throes of ecstasy. Here, a flat crank motor that I've owned for 25 years fire up. Excited. And go the new set of brand new US made hydraulic roller lifters. We'll soon be putting a set of rocker arms on this bad boy. We're getting close to the assembly of the flat crank engine, the barn find engine. I've had this engine for about 25 years. It was sitting in a barn for about 30 years before that, I believe. You can see we work on a wide array of engines here. There's a little bit of everything in the place right now. But the Elgon fuel injection kind of tips off the era that this engine is realistically from, with no exaggeration. The top of the ports have been welded up, probably when the power pack head was replaced with the 194, perhaps even a 202. They would have run, it had just stock rockers, this insane Pontiac 370 connecting rod with a big 2-inch 250 pin. All right, this is a minute I never thought would ever happen. I've owned this engine for a lot of years. This is the flat fire 180 degree crank and roller cam combo that I bought off eBay from a fellow back in New York about 20 years ago, and his father had the crank built. I think it's a one-off, one of a kind, one only, and it's just about ready to run. We're just hooking it up. It'll be real soon. This thing without the mufflers on it and see what it sounds like. One more time. have one more listen to this thing with the exhaust wide open.
Very cool.
So this is the poll that we did last night, and it was completely successful. It exceeded our expectations actually, because the cam in this thing from the late 50s is so mild. It only has 450 net lift, and the specs are smaller than a 268 high energy comp cams, just a hydraulic flat tappet, and it's just got such mild ramps on the cam and whatnot from back in the day when the valve springs and the valves would have been heavy. Everything would have been so old school that we think it's remarkable that it did as well as it did. 391 cubic inches, it ended up making right at 430 pound-foot of torque, and it peaked out at 360 horsepower.